Well, hello there, boonies. Okay, we've done a little bit of a review of this JAC report, but today I want to get in here. I want to just summarize it for you, state the facts, and clear up any confusion because it was kind of confusing the way we presented it the other night. We were on a live, we were looking at it for the first time, and we were discussing a lot of things. So let's just get straight to this document. So I've done a summary for you, for everyone. This is the full report of what has been paid for Sarah Boone's defense. Now, those of you who are not familiar with the case, let me just do a really quick descriptor. Sarah Boone, 42 years old at the time, 2020, zipped her boyfriend up in a suitcase, allegedly. I say allegedly because she hadn't been found guilty yet, but we know she's probably guilty. Zipped her boyfriend up in a suitcase, causing suffocation, asphyxiation. He passed away within hours. And this case has been ongoing for quite some time. The defense is absolutely crazy. There's been a lot of money spent. So the reason we're looking at this report is because it's the Justice Administration Commission. They're the ones that help indigent criminals through their trial. They give them financial assistance. This is so everyone in the U.S. can get a fair trial. We've already kind of reviewed the request of what they were asking for. This is actually what has been paid through August the 28th of 2024. So let me just clear that up real quickly because some of the things that we've said before can be confusing. Anything we were discussing prior to us receiving this was all speculation because we didn't know what the JAC had paid. These are the receipts. Okay. So this is the full sheet. I'm going to break it down for you guys. Okay. The only thing I'm not going to go over is things like this right here, where you see these are deposition transcripts. So anything that involved like regular stuff like this, where you had an appearance from a court reporter for the depositions, what they are included in this complete total, which is $71,447. So that is what has been paid up to August 28th of 2024. The one thing I made a note of while I was reviewing this is that the only attorney that had not anything paid was Hobson, Winston Hobson. We've got Cashman, we've got Padilla, we've got Bankowitz. So let's dive in. Now, Padilla worked for 2 years on Sarah's case. He was really the true first attorney that came in and did everything. There was depositions taken. He had reached out for some mental health assistance. Now, you'll look over here. So to this, if we look at the columns, this is what they were paid by the hour, okay? This column right here, how many hours they actually worked. And then, of course, this right here is the total amount that was paid. Now, don't freak out. It's a lot. We're going to break this down so you guys can see it better. But just for Padilla alone, what he submitted was $65,906.97. That was doctors, that was court reporters, that was his travel expenses, that was investigative, anything that he requested to be paid. That's what I'm showing here, okay? Now, Bankowitz, what they paid while he was on the case was $2,280. And as you can see, the only thing that was done was Aaron and Associates. They did the investigation portion for Bankowitz, whereas Padilla had used Prison Break investigation. Okay. Then we have Cashman. Now, Cashman, her totals paid were $1,188.50. And it looks like she did take some depositions because there's court reporting charges here. In fact, that's all she had was court reporting, transcribing, all of that. Okay, then we have the investigative portion of Sarah's defense. Now, most of this is Billy Lane, who we saw that was her. Billy Lane was kind of her go-between while she was pro se. So if you guys remember that controversial hearing where he was assigned and we were all like, oh, bless his heart. Well, so far to date, not just him, but including what they paid for this Iran and Associates, the total on the investigation portion is $12,689. The travel expenses are included in that, and Billy Lane's travel expenses have been $836.02. Now, Billy Lane lives in Lakeland, Florida, which is north of Orlando, where Sarah's located and where the crime scene is located. So he's a little bit away. And there was also some talk. Now, this is all in-state travel. I don't see anything for Billy Lane for out-of-state travel, but there were discussions of going to Pennsylvania to speak with family members of Jorge, and we see that in Padilla's expenses. We think that Billy Lane went with him to Pennsylvania, but we think that his travel expenses may have been paid under Padilla's travel expenses. So let's look at the travel expenses really quick while we're talking about it. You'll notice here, it's all done while Padilla was on the case, but then you have some of these that are, this is the out-of-state that Padilla had. Airfare, hotel to go to Ohio. And that was on October the 24th of 2021. And we don't see anything else out of state from that point. So if there's any kind of notes about speaking with anybody in Philadelphia regarding George's past, which is probably what they were looking for, they would have found it there and it would be in Padilla's files. The total travel expenses for Padilla and Prison Break, aka Billy Lane, was $10,258.11. I included the expert witnesses separately, any kind of travel expenses they had, because I just thought that was important to keep that separate. Now, when we go to the forensic side of everything, what we're looking at is two different companies thus far. We have Forensic Consulting Services, which is J.D. Thomas. J.D. Thomas, he does crime scene investigation, reconstruction, and analysis, bloodstain pattern analysis and interpretation, fingerprint analysis, and comparison accident investigation. Then we have Forensic Data Corp, which is John Sawicki. John Sawicki specializes in cell tower analysis, including call detail records and history, audio and video enhancement, and social media investigation. We know on Sarah's case, we feel that he's mostly going into the phones, looking at what was going on there, and the activity of whoever had the phones from the cell towers. So their total expenses came to $33,392.73. All the work they've done that's been paid thus far on the defense by JAC was done through Attorney Padilla, who was on the case for the first 2 years. We do anticipate another person coming in and requesting payment through James Owens, the new attorney, because he's mentioned another expert he wants to bring in that's from his area. Expert witnesses. Okay, now here we're going to be talking about the doctors. So in December of 2021 and March of 2022, Dr. Edward N. Wiley, MD, did some items for Padilla. Now, Dr. Wiley, he did over 16 hours on her case. He is a forensic pathologist. It's a subspecialty that investigates unnatural or sudden deaths to determine the cause and manner of death. Forensic pathologists, who are physicians with specialized training, perform autopsies, collect evidence, and work on legal and medical matters. Sounds to me like he's going to be one of the medical doctors for the defense that would go against what the ME says, maybe, or he's saying, we believe George died at this point, or this would have been the cause of George's injuries, because he did have several injuries, even though he was inside the suitcase. So I feel like he's going to be the one that talks about anything that's going to benefit the defense on George suffocating in the suitcase, being in the suitcase, and any injuries he had on his body, because we know that we feel that she pushed him down the steps in the suitcase, which caused a bunch of bruises and stuff on the outside of on his shoulder. He had a busted lip. He had a forehead thing. And we don't know if all this happened at the same time, but we know it happened that night. And we believe that the public's surveillance video that they're going to bring in, it's going to be able to show, hopefully, that George didn't have a bunch of injuries on his face when he went to Publix hours before his death. Thus, it all happened when he was there with Sarah. Okay, then you have Dr. Harper. Dr. Harper is a clinical psychologist. She has so far spent over 44 hours on Sarah's case. James Owens mentioned her in his first press conference. She was an expert witness in a previous battered spouse defense case. And so he's going to be bringing her in to speak on the psychological side of Sarah Boone. Ugh, I know it's going to be disgusting. But anyway, those together they've been paid $12,780. All right, now let's summarize this all right. And again, this is just paid through August the 28th. You've got $12,780 for mental health, $12,689 for investigative work, $10,258 for travel expenses, $33,392 for forensic work. And we don't even have in here yet the anticipated cost of what they're going to end up paying Cashman, Hobson, and Bankowitz, because we know that they have to have a special hearing for that part. You still have witness travel and hourly appearance fees for the expert witnesses, the forensic people, all coming into court for the trial to testify. We're going to have Dr. Harper's going to spend more time with Sarah, so there's going to be an expense for that. And then, of course, his other doctor, I want to say his last name was Bannon. It might be Brannon, but I put that down there just as a special note because we know that that was an additional person that James Owen has introduced into the case since he took it over. And we don't know what his expenses are going to be. Plus, you know that Billy Lane's still on the case as the investigator and mitigation specialist, and he's going to continue to be on the case, and we'll probably end up submitting more invoices for payment from the JAC. So that's where we are so far, guys. Again, a total of $7,447 has been paid on Suitcase Sarah Boone's case thus far through the end of August. And I guess we're just going to have to wait to see what happens from here on out. If it comes down to it where we think that we need to request another one of these with an update, I will do that through the JAC. I will have to submit a separate request to them. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate your time. I hope this was quick and helpful for you to understand. And if you guys want me to go over this more thoroughly, again, maybe in a live where you guys can ask some questions, we can do that. Just please let me know. I'll schedule that video for all of us. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe on your way out, and feel free to leave a comment. Have a blessed day.